Good morning, and today I shall be having a look at the Gaspatch model's newly released Henschel Hs123. It's a late 1930s, early Second World War Luftwaffe ground attack close support aircraft. This is the A1 boxing, newly shipped from Gaspatch in Greece and arrived yesterday. Those of you, of course, with knowledge of Virgil's Aeneid will know the phrase Timeo Danaos et dona ferentes, which roughly translates as beware of Greeks bearing gifts. But in this case, it's not required because this was €45 plus a bit of shipping, so it's not a gift at all, apart from a present to me. So, here is the box. I'll show you this now. We have a top opening lid. It's a kind of pizza style tray with these like double wall folded over ends. You can see a little bit of damage here from the shipping. It was actually well packed and the box has stood the journey well. Contents inside all in perfect condition. The contents themselves are, each sprue is individually cellophane wrapped. For the purposes of this little review, I've removed the bags just because you can't see anything through them, and I'm going to build it, so don't need the bags. So let's just open the box here, and I shall just run through what we have. The first thing that strikes you about this model is the absolutely fabulous quality of moulding. We've got a medium grade plastic, feels like quite a nice hard styrene. There are several sprues in the box, and the very fine surface detail which is recessed on there. I'm just going to try and get this up to the camera and hold it around a little bit to see if you can just get that on there. You can see some areas are raised. We have some little cooling slots there. You'll see on this sprue the characteristic cowling of the 123, which has the clearance bulges for the cylinder heads, is moulded in several parts, plus these little joining pieces. It all looks like it might be quite fiddly, but I think, judging from the way that the moulding is done, it all looks like if you take your time, it should all assemble very nicely. It also means, of course, that you can leave the engine cowling open to show off the detail inside. To give you a little view of the interior detail there. I hope that's going to be in focus, just catching the light. Very nice rib detail on the insides of the cockpit. The whole thing really does ooze quality. There are a few little ejector pin marks, but nowhere that you're going to see them, so that's very nice. And we'll move on to the next sprue as we come out here. Here we see this is the sprue for the lower wing, and what's a very nice feature here is that the kit gives you options for spatted undercarriage, semi-spatted and totally unspatted. The Henschel quite often had the spats removed, especially when it was in service on the Eastern Front, to prevent mud build-up on the wheels from jamming the wheels. So we have this top piece here, gives you locating points for the fully spatted undercarriage. And this second piece here, which you use, gives you the locating points for the totally unspatted ones, which is a very nice feature and it's nice to have. We have some slightly different two-part wheels below here, which will be relevant to whichever undercarriage option you build. I'll move through here. Here we have sprues showing you the various undercarriage pieces, and Gaspatch have given you full undercarriage legs. These pieces for the semi-spatted ones. We've got a very nice firewall here. We've got the bracing here for the engine cowling. 4 SC50 bombs with separate fin parts to go in there, and variety of other little detail parts. There's a very nice little oxygen cylinder there, which hopefully will be in focus. Again, it's all very cleanly moulded. There's not one hint of flash on these parts, or maybe there is a little bit around the bottoms there. It's not to do you a total disservice by telling porcupines in the days of fake truth. Here we see the next sprue. We have the top wing top part. There's a bottom part that goes in there to make that up, and we have the top part of the lower wing of the sesquiplane design. It's a narrower lower wing to top wing, so it's a sesquiplane really instead of a biplane, and we have the control surfaces which are all moulded separately to allow you to position them as you see fit, should you so desire to have them moved. Remember, in the classic phrase, to move the control column and the rudder pedals to match, of course, because well, just wouldn't look the same, would it? Here we see the lower part of the upper wing. We have the large struts, we have the tail planes, a variety of other details. A very nice feature of this is that the exhaust pieces for the engine are moulded with open ends, which is very nice. You could perhaps refine those a little bit, thin them out, but I suspect that for a lot of modelers that's going to be more than adequate. The fabric detail, just going back to this sprue on the areas, is very subtle, very nicely done. And again, I suspect that for the majority of modelers that's going to be more than adequate. I'll move you through now. As I said, all the bags were removed, but just to show you, the clear parts survive perfectly well. They're in their own little separate Ziploc bag. We've got the windscreen and we've got two tiny little lights that go into the top wing. Final sprue in the kit is spatted undercarriage, which you can see there. We have dive brakes, we have some bulkheads, very nicely moulded BMW 132 engine, which looks like it should paint up very well with separate ancillary parts, and the two-bladed propeller, if I can just angle that round, is moulded quite unusually, I think, to probably get the thinness of the actual propeller blades. We have some attachment points actually on the edges of the blades. Now I suspect that is going to be slightly tricky cleanup there. Maybe snip them with some sprue cutters, leaving a little bit of a nub, and then trim them off with a very sharp new scalpel blade or some sanding sticks. But overall, really nice quality on this kit. It looks like it's going to build really nicely, and that's good because it's going to go straight onto the workbench. But as they say, there's more. So, as well as the plastic parts, Gaspatch also provide a very nice etch fret, which has got, I'll try and angle that so it just doesn't get into the light. We've got seat belts, we've got some small details, there's some parts for the gun sight. We also have the covering for the oxygen regulator in the cockpit, which you will need to form round into its characteristic kind of oval box shape. Now the plastic has a small piece in there for you to form that round, which is a really nice touch. It means you're not going to crush it, bend it. Nice to see that they've thought of that. This is obviously modelers thinking what modelers want, and I think that's a really nice little touch. Certainly when you're ham-fisted like me, it's going to make a big difference. Keep going here. Also included is this. Now you may ask, what is that? Well, this is a little jig to allow you to line the undercarriage up. These holes here where the wheels sit, and then we have two support struts here, so you can sit your model down at an angle and then get the correct alignment of the undercarriage, so you don't end up with one spat doing that and one doing that, and the whole thing is looking a bit cockeyed. So that's another really nice touch. We'll move through, just show you very quickly the decal sheet. This is printed by Cartograph in Italy. We've got several versions on there, plus we have a little mask there for the windscreen. Quality on that looks very nice. We've even got, and I'm sorry because of the lighting, I'll just have to try and hold that up there. We have the pre-war red fin stripe with the white circle, and then we've got a multi-part swastika in there, which is fairly standard nowadays. It'd be interesting to see if that fits. A lot of people might choose to paint that, but I think it's quite nice to have that in there. It does make it a lot simpler if you don't like masking. Let's have a little look now at the instruction booklet. This is a lovely instruction booklet. It's got the picture on the cover repeated on it, and inside, very well thought out. I can just show you that there. It's sprue count. We have colour callouts here giving you appropriate RLM colour codes, which you can obviously match to your preferred paints. And I'll try and do this so you can see. I'll move that in there. Really, really nice standard of instruction here. Everything is very clear. Nice enlarged shots to show you where to place decals on the instrument panel. They're all individual decals. We have this thing which I noticed has crept in with a few sets of instructions recently, which is that parts being worked on are coloured, so you can sort of see what you should be doing and which part goes where. All in all, really, really easy to follow, I would say. Very clear. Here you go. I'll show you the thing. Here's the oxygen regulator. You can see that there's a little jig, a plastic moulded jig for you to wrap it round, and then look, lovely colour call outs for everything. Very much in the style, I would say, of wing nuts, which is only a good thing in my opinion, because their instructions are fantastic, and this will make painting up and assembling the model very, very, very simple. So we run through and just show you, we've got the optional halves, optional parts there for the lower wing. Again, colour coded to show you it's optional. And then go through here, and there you can just see, look, hold that up like that. There's the jig for the undercarriage. It's a nice touch, I think. Just gives that thought. We've got rigging pointed out in here. There is a little bit of rigging on this model, but 2 or 3 bits. Not difficult at all. Let's move through now. Look, here we go, very Wingnuts-esque again. Engine painting instructions, plus showing you how the exhaust pipes go on. All very, very clearly done and nice and big. It's only a little A5 booklet, but the size of the illustrations is nice and big. Really, really very easy to follow, I would say. Finally, as we go through here, oh, here's one last thing. This is for those of you of a diorama slant. Should you choose to position your Henschel on a base, they give you an aircraft anchoring plan, which show you how the points here where it can be obviously attached via pegs in the ground. Might be a nice touch on a diorama to show it like that. Obviously, in terms of bad weather on the eastern front, don't want your Henschel flipping around when you're off to go schlachting, do you? No, you don't. Colour schemes, really, really easy to follow. We've got plan views showing you splinter camouflage, side views, both sides, which are nice. These look to me as though they're almost pictures of the built model, or they're rendered to look like that, and that's a nice little touch. Gives you a really good idea of what your model's going to look like. In terms of marking options, we've got two. This is the A1 model. I said that the B1 had a slightly more powerful engine, but there's not many differences between them as far as I know. We have two schemes, Spanish Nationalist Air Force. This first one is from the Spanish Civil War itself, 1938. Sorry, that's that scheme there. This is a slightly later one from 1942. The Spanish Air Force, I think, used the Henschel right up to the early 50s, and you can see ones later in an aluminium scheme, perhaps with very bright light blue undersides, with the Spanish cockade, the red, yellow, red, as we know from nowadays, rather than the nationalist markings, which we're more used to seeing from the late 30s. Two very interesting options here. We have a pre-war Luftwaffe example in the splinter scheme. There's a slightly different colour usage on the splinter there compared to the nationalist ones. The splinters are painted, it's obviously the same colours but just different positions. This has got the red tailband, and you'll notice that these two options, unlike the first two, have no armoured headrest, which was a feature of some of the earlier production aircraft. And then this one here, this is one of the 12 A models that were sold to the Chinese Nationalist Air Force and used against the Japanese. I believe they used them in attacks against Japanese ships. The paint scheme on this is unusual and is going to be interesting. I'll try and give you a little view of that. As you can see, it's a dark green speckle over what I think is an RLM 02 overall colour. Now, I was talking to a chap at Telford a couple of years ago about this, who's a big fan of the HS123, has a lot of information about it, and he had pictures of these Chinese ones, and it looks very much that this speckly scheme was literally applied with a brush by some bloke on the ground, and you zoomed into these photos, you could almost see where the guy had taken his 6-inch paintbrush, flicked it out, and then done round, round, round like that. It's really quite expressive. So quite how you're going to do that in 1/48 scale is up to you. I wonder whether anybody might even consider doing decals for it, but I suspect getting them round the fuselage is going to be an interesting thing. So yeah, it would look lovely. There's not many markings of it, but I think it would look lovely. But how you go about that one, good luck. And the final scheme, for those of you who've been missing things with big Luftwaffe crosses and wartime action, we have an A1 from Schlachtergeschwader 2, Russia, summer of 1944. That is in the overall dark green scheme. Interestingly, the top wing on this one still has the pre-war 3-colour splinter camouflage on, so that's quite a nice little touch. Again, all the colour call-outs are in there. Should be very, very simple just to follow that. So there we go. This is a real quality product, I would say, from Gaspatch. I mean, €45 at the moment is about £40 plus shipping, so it's not a cheap kit, but I'd say this is pretty good value for money given the way modern model costs are going. I'm going to get this straight onto the workbench today, get some painting done, and see how it goes. I think at the moment my preferred option is this version. I really like the Henschel without the armoured headrest. I think it gives it just a little bit more of a pre-war look. That's, I think, where I'm going. There are other Spanish nationalist schemes, obviously, you could do. These two are just black circled. I have seen profiles of some which have the fuselage roundels with the red phalangist yoke and arrows symbol in them. I'm sure the aftermarket decals guys will be coming out with stuff for this, although if there are any available for the old Eschi kit and the reboxings of that, I'm sure they would fit. Gaspatch also make a B1 boxing, which from what I can see on their website has Luftwaffe schemes overall. It also includes Adolf Galan's aircraft that he flew in the 1939 campaign in Poland. So that's it. Gaspatch, HS123, nice kit. See you later.